Now, I was forwarded this post where the Daily Voice discusses the Cape Town Islamic Educational Center calling Cape Townians to join the heritage of the Muslim community by attending the Kramat tour this week. Now, for those of you who don't know what a Kramat is, long story short, it's like a shrine commemorating the men who brought Islam to South Africa. Usually, these men are buried in and around this place. Anyway, there was a comment that caught my attention by a particular John September stating the following. He says, enjoy Muslim heritage. Join ISIS, Boko Haram, Al Shabaab, Daesh, underground Islamic terrorist, fundamentalist fanatics. Happy New Year, Rosh Hashanah, basically the Jewish New Year in South Africa. We celebrate diversity and we will always be a Christian nation.
What?
I'm sure you can tell that this person, John September, is taking a dig at the Muslims. And of course, he seems a bit, well, not seem, but is definitely a bit hostile to, I think, Muslims as a community. And I'd even go as far as to say that this guy is an Islamaphobe.
It's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
First of all, what year is this exactly? 2001? Is this guy still watching Fox News or other right wing mainstream media? You see, as South Africans and as a South African society, I don't think we really get too much involved in the religious disparities. I think we deal quite well with religious tolerance in the sense of diversity compared to other parts of the world. But rather, we concern ourselves more with racial and the ever growing class divides, right? So, as Muslims, it is kind of triggering to see such a post, you know. But in any case, in response to John September, I'd ask, is South Africa ruled by biblical jurisprudence, or is it ruled by secular democratic policy? All right. As far as I know, South Africa is a secular democratic state and does not necessarily seek God's law in terms of using the Bible as a means to run South African society. Again, rather, it's subject to the overarching UN Security Council, World Health Organization, International Monetary Fund, and the rest of that bunch, these global policymakers. So South Africa is definitely not a quote unquote Christian country. But maybe he means by population. And, it is true that majority of South Africans identify as Christian. But we can argue as to if the Christian population as a whole follow the technical law as Jesus and his disciples did. I mean, is the Bible really dictating the way the average modern day Christian lives his or her life? I seriously don't think so, and there is proof to reference. But regardless, this obviously follows up a whole bunch of Christian theology about the law being nailed to the cross, and Christians are no longer subject to the law, and all you need is, the acceptance of the blood of Christ, and so on and so forth. Again, very theological, which I don't technically want to get into, but and I think it will, uh, open up another can of worms. As a Muslim responding to all this, I'd seriously advise John September and his likes to really stay away from this American, Eurocentric, westernized right wing propaganda. That portrays Muslims and Islam as this backward, militant religion. Maybe then, John September, you'd be more open minded about Islam and Muslims, and perhaps not spew out so much of these ignorant statements. And mind you, John September, I don't think Muslims are going around screaming we need Sharia law in South Africa. Um, if we want to talk about terrorism, then I don't recall Muslims doing what the West have done, or Western countries, basically. The Westerner holds this supposedly higher moral ground, dictating that we all need to believe in their philosophies and their ideas, while going around countries with unbound military intervention and life crippling sanctions, basically starving innocent children, displacing families, and even killing non combatants, and so on. All of this for the purpose of spreading the said ideologies like freedom, liberalism, and democracy. Not to mention that the resources are stolen, and meanwhile, puppet regimes are installed in these countries for political gain. Right? So, really, John September, I'd think carefully about what is being said, and perhaps you would care to stay in your lane.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!